time now to talk about the SIM registration exercise. Many Ghanaians who have identified and authorized use of their Ghana cards numbers for registration of their mobile phones must come together and take legal action against state institutions which fail to prevent that unauthorized intrusion of persons to get hold of their card details and to use them for SIM registration. Well, some Ghanaians say that they have seen strange numbers on the list of their registered mobile SIM cards, indicating that either their registration officials may have passed their Ghana cards or numbers to others, or to some bad guys who are simply found a way of obtaining the Ghana card. So this afternoon we're engaging some former officials of the Data Protection Commission, plus of course hearing from some experts who are helping us to understand what's happening to this verification exercise. We'll be hearing from them shortly, plus telling you who we, of course, have joining the conversation. But take a listen to this rap announcing the process, of course, when it started and where we are today.
Therefore, take this opportunity to urge all who've not registered or are yet to register their SIM cards to do so. The deadline of 31st July is a few days away. It will not be extended.
The stern warning from Minister of Communications and Digitalization, Esla Owusu Ekufo, urging people to partake in the mandatory SIM card re-registration. The exercise took off in October 2021, targeting 26 million Ghanaians with the aim of setting up a central SIM registry and ridding the system of fraud.
We must make it difficult for the criminals who hack our systems and defraud us through multiple online channels to operate. And this SIM registration exercise is one of the steps the government is taking in that regard.
For the process, one could only register with a Ghana card. No other identification, be it passport, birth certificate, is accepted. Government believes that the Ghana card was the only access trusted for the process.
I want to bring in now Desmond Israel. He's a lawyer and a data privacy information security practitioner, research lead for child safety for the metaverse. Thank you, Desmond, for your time. So you've, of course, noticed this trend as well, a series of complaints coming up online and even some reporting to our office here. But is this a common practice that there will be intrusion even through this exercise, which is supposed to be national in nature? Is it normal?
Well, the question is such that one would say when it comes to any system, there's a possibility of getting bypassed it. But I think I'll put your question in context and say that we should have actually looked at our process design well. I'm actually on record challenging the integrity of the process. The very first time it started on Joy FM. And hindsight has proven that we do have a process gap in there. Actually, what is happening is, if you look at the USSD process for linking up the cards, it requires you to key in your Ghana card, and then the only way of authentication is for you to receive an online one-time password, which is the OTP. Unfortunately, the process gap is such that this OTP is sent to the new NAMA registering rather than the best practice, which should be what we call a primary contact verification. The primary contact verification is actually the first number, if Desmond registered his Ghana card, he used. That is the number that is supposed to receive any sort of verification on a process ongoing, right? So that Desmond would be able to ascertain if these new cards are actually cards that he is registering or not, which is also a way for the system to actually give us some assurance of some level of integrity. Unfortunately, this process gap exists. It's a vulnerability in the technical sense. They call it a logical flaw for people who do this quite a lot. They will tell you about business logic, process logic. When there are flaws in it, it amounts to some level of vulnerability. And that is why you have the clandestine linkage of the cards happening along the line. It's not a technical breach to the system itself, like others have suggested. But it is still a vulnerability that needs to be looked at because there's a process gap there.
What options are available to individuals who feel shortchanged by this process?
Well, that would depend on what you're looking at. I want to presume you are asking for the possibility of litigation or legal. Okay, right. So that would depend on what you're looking at. For starters, I also do agree that this is some level of identity theft. Unfortunately, it is not the doing of subscribers. It is the system that was designed that allowed people to own. So what is happening now is I own SIMs that I don't own. That's what the system is saying, and that when there is any sort of action that sort of like maligns or puts the subscribers maybe reputation or there's a criminal action involved, those things would determine what sort of course of action the subscriber may have, if there is any. But it would be very difficult to just throw in a blanket statement that subscribers have a course of action, because it would depend. You need to prove that some sort of damage has happened. I think that the thing is rather to look at we resolving this thing and getting it done right, yeah.
On the personal level, are there some options available just to ensure your personal security in a bid to protect your card and also your SIM?
Unfortunately, if someone has the card details already and the process gap still exists, there's nothing much you can do. The registration can still be done. Another linkage can be done. But if this has been taken out of the existing system, then of course, there's a level of protection where you will not be able to, the clandestine installation or linkage of the cards will not be able to be done. Well, having said that, too, with the delinking or I think there's a new code that allows you to see if cards are actually linked, SIM cards are actually linked to your Ghana card. It has to be a process that every subscriber should be doing, like your first level of checks, just to be sure if the cards are linked. I can't speak too much about the delinking process. I haven't tried it. I'm not in Ghana, actually. I haven't tried it. And what I'm reading is a little bit cumbersome. I'll just take their word for it. But if it's a very simple process to be done, then you keep checking for links and delinking it until the system itself is put in a shape that would allow you to, put in a shape that will allow that level of protection. It's a process design flaw, like I said. So there's nothing much subscribers can do about it now, apart from checking if it's linked and then requesting for a delink. The fix has to come with how the process has been designed.
How about the regulator, the NCA?
Well, I think all the regulators and the agencies owe us some level of obligation to get this done. I made a little argument in an article I published through my joint online about the fact that this also has some data protection implications. Anyhow you look at it, so I would expect that there should be like a collaborative interaction between all the regulators, the DPC, the NCA, and the NIA, to actually have a solution. Look, this is their job to do. I don't know how else to say it. It is their mandate to get it done right.
Okay then, thanks Desmond for spending some time with us. Mata Crinsell is also on with us. Mata, you care to share a few words on what's happening now?
Good afternoon to you and our viewers out there. Yesterday, when I got the information that the system has been activated so I could check my details, I decided to go right away and do it. But what I was greeted with was the shock of my life. If you can capture my phone, I have 17 numbers linked to my Ghana card.
As many as 17 different contacts.
And the 17 numbers, only one belongs to me. Just the last one is my number. The other 16, I don't know who they belong to. I had 6 Vodafone numbers, 9 Airtel Tigo numbers, and then 2 MTN numbers. The 2 MTN numbers, one is mine, the other is not mine. So I actually have another Airtel Tigo number. It's not on this list. So when I saw it, I thought it was a joke. I tried again, I got the same thing. And I asked how this could be possible, because from what I heard, the card, every Ghana card is supposed to link to as many as 10 numbers, and that's it. So is this a system flaw? What went wrong? How could I be linked to 17? So yesterday I was in shock throughout the day. Today when I came to the office, I had one of my colleagues who wanted to try out some of the numbers randomly and see if it will be answered. So he can ask how the person got the number. So he tried, and of the 16, 3 of them he tried first did not exist.
Wow.
One went through but was not answered. So how could I be linked to these ones if there's been any commission of a crime somewhere or anything? And I didn't even know until yesterday when I checked.
Have you tabled an official report to the regulator, the NCA?
Not the regulator, but I spoke to some service providers, some of the service providers. So I've spoken to someone at Airtel, I've spoken to someone at Vodafone, and for the Vodafone, of the 6 numbers, they have managed to deactivate or delink 5 of them. So I still have 1 on my name, and I'm waiting for feedback from Airtel Tigo as well. But for the MTN, nothing has been done about it, and I've been told I have to go to the service providers, and I ask myself why I have to commit to moving from one service provider to the other just because something has been done and was not done well, or was done on my blind side, and I have to leave my work and go around and get that the link for my card.
You've been doing your own checks. What are some of the experts telling you about what's likely, possibly what's happening right now? Is it the case that someone else is using your card, or what's going on?
Before I get there today, I got an audio sent to my phone to listen to and see if I could do anything out of that. And it's one man who found himself in my situation, a similar situation, and chose to use his airtime to call and confront those whose cards have been linked, whose numbers have been linked to his card. So he called one and recorded the conversation, and the insults he got from the man just before he asked where he got his card from was enough to deter him from asking further questions. And that is why I chose not to. So I spoke to some of the service providers, and they told me it is the NCA's fault, because if the NCA is supposed to be the regulator to ensure that whatever numbers you register will not exceed the 10, I was told, then let's say the NCA has the authority to ensure that after 10, assuming I have 11 numbers, after 10 numbers, I should not be able to register again. But they cannot come out and talk about it, because when they do, they will be victimized. So they'll rather keep quiet and take it as a flaw on their side, but it's not their flaw at all. They didn't do anything wrong. But I remember several times when I tried registering my Airtel Tigo, this, it's not going through. Oh, we are almost done and there is a problem. Let's start again. I went through that several times, but it didn't occur to me that maybe a ploy to register many more numbers than just my number, which I didn't even find in the list that I've been given.
Well, what do you intend to do now?
It's difficult for me to say I'm going to go to all of them, but I have sent some emails to some of the service providers, and I've attached my Ghana card, hoping that they will use that to do something, as in delinking some of the numbers. Because when I give you everything, 17, I tell you it's only the last number that's my number. So if you are the service provider for Vodafone, please get rid of everything. It's not mine. If you are the service provider for Airtel Tigo, get rid of everything. I don't have a number there. After the email, hopefully I'll get something resolved. If it doesn't resolve, I have to make time and go to the offices.
Mata Krenzel, Aqua editor at Dome TV, sharing her experience with us. Turkey Cortez, of course, the executive director at Africa Digital Hub, and also the former executive director of the Ghana. We'll get you the details shortly, but thanks for joining us. Let's start off with what the trend we're seeing now. What do you suspect might be the case?
I think that clearly we failed as policymakers, as government, to put in place the necessary technical and adequate security measures to ensure that the information that is shared as part of the registration process is adequately secured, and the people whose information had to be provided are adequately protected in the process. I have always maintained that a lot of these issues, particularly around implementation of the SIM card registration, was rushed. And I have always maintained that as government implementing this, particularly as it was coming at the helm of a number of processes where we have always, had issues with the credibility and the integrity of the registration systems, we needed to make sure that we were collecting. And in fact, if you look at the data protection law, you are mandated by the law to ensure that the information that you're collecting is accurate, is up to date, is necessary for the purpose for which you're collecting it. And so a simple process that you need to put in place to enable you do that is to have your data protection impact assessment. A simple impact assessment will be able to identify where the risks are, where the security shortages may be, because indeed this is what happened, right? We're giving our IDs to third parties to register on our behalf. Are these third parties assessed? Do we even know who these people are? Have we done background checks? If there is a risk that somebody has done something of this nature, how do we trace back to who has, committed some of these crimes? I think a simple process would have easily eliminated some of these challenges. And guess what? At the end of the day, we have failed because the ultimate aim of this process, which is, assure the integrity of the SIM card registration process, have been flawed. No amount of giving short codes that you're providing is going to help you cure some of the defects that have been implemented. In fact, today, I know a number of people have been having challenges. I personally have also tried to assess, to see, and I wasn't even able to go through the process. This is something that a simple impact assessment of the entire process should be able to tell you. The IT security people will be able to tell you that, okay, you're using these third parties to register information. They're going to be collecting critical information from individuals, their IB numbers and all of that. What protocols have you put in place? How are you monitoring those that are doing the registrations? How do we even know that when they say they have registered, they've done what they need to do? What we are doing now, we could have even done from the beginning, whereby anytime you register my number, I get an alert. That ensures that. And so that will come back to me to say that, okay, certain numbers have been registered with my name, and I can check and verify and even correct the information. So where is this problem coming from? It's coming from the challenge where policymakers are in a rush to implement some of these decisions without thoroughly thinking about the human impact implication of some of these decisions.
What do you recommend as part of the solution?
Solutions, I would say scrap the entire system and then build afresh. I do not think that you can clean up anything like this. And for me, the worrying part is that the information that has already gone out there, here we are looking at linkages to SIM cards, right? But what about linkages to other things beyond SIM cards? Because what it means is that those people that were registering actually had access to these IDs. We are running a risk of identity theft of Ghanaians already. We've pushed out a lot of information. I don't know if you remember, close to the election period, where a whole electoral roll was published via Google Sheets, and we have that. So there's a real risk to, first of all, how do we even clean up? I don't know if it is possible to have a very clean sheet. The exercises that are being undertaken is good. It can help people assess what we've been registered to. But again, we need to make sure that, for instance, if I delink, the processes will enable me delink, and it happens in real time. If I go into the checks and I find out that numbers the delinking is happening, and there's not a lot of human intervention that is limiting some of these processes. So that could be a solution. But look, the risk is even beyond SIM card registration. We're looking at identity theft situations where people may have their IDs and their ID information stolen about them and used in ways that, they may have no control over.
Okay, grateful. We'll have this conversation some other time, but thank you for your time. Managers of the ORB Wildlife Sanctuary in the Ashanti region are resisting the erection of a wall by the local chief, which they say is in violation of the government's buffer zone policy for the reserve. The chief of the area wants staff of the facility arrested after they demolished the wall erected by him. But managers of the sanctuary say that the action was necessary to ward off encroachers in protecting the reserve. Erastus Donko has been following that story. On that, you're watching the Pulse on the Joy News channel. We'll be back shortly after this break. Please stay.